I tend to isolate myself quite a bit. A lot of the reason is because, at least from what I've come to realize from just self-analyzing, is that I'm very sensitive to other people. Their comments, their energy, their problems. Everyone has problems, right? Everyone has difficulties that they go through in their life. Myself included, I have grown up to be a very self-sufficient person. Because when I was younger, I would always get so frustrated when life and things weren't working out well for me and nothing could be done about it. No one was gonna come in and save me and rescue me and fix it for me. And so I just had to suffer and deal with the consequences of the fact that things just weren't working out. I decided, you know what, I'm going to fix it myself. I'm gonna just learn how to solve it. It's a skill that you go acquiring over time, whether it be, your career, your work, your purpose. How are you going to sustain yourself? Your finances. How are you going to spend your money, budget your money? How are you going to prepare for the future? Are you going to invest? What are you going to invest in? What are you going to do as far as like your living circumstances, your living condition? How are you going to be able to, purchase a house if that's what you want? Like every single thing. What do I want to study? How do I get to it? What classes do I have to take? Like every step of the journey of life and what I consider to be successes, achieving things that I want, solving problems, conflict resolution, conflicts in my own life, I have always figured out a way. I learn, I talk to people that I know, and the internet has helped greatly because there's so much information easily accessible to anyone that there's really no excuse for any form of ignorance at all whatsoever these days. But when I'm faced with a person who is dealing with problems and they want to communicate them to me, I'm empathetic and I listen and I understand. And I can't help but offer some sort of advice because perhaps it's something I've been through or I can relate to, or my problem-solving brain wants to find a solution for them. If I notice that time passes and they don't do anything and they just keep talking about the problem, or they just keep living in the problem and they're not actively trying to make an effort or learn, in other words, do what I typically do, I start to grow really frustrated and I start to actually take it personally. I'm not taking it like an offense, like something that they're doing to me on purpose. I just start slowly developing feelings about this person's problem as if they were my own. And the fact that they are not mine, but rather someone else's, they're not my responsibility. It's not in my control. Nothing I do or say can fix it. I start to live with a weight of stress almost every single day until the problem gets solved. Because this is what I do in my own life, unfortunately. If there's a problem, if there's something that's not working, I look for solutions, I brainstorm. When I find something that I think might work, I start taking steps toward pursuing that course of action in hopes of solving the problem. And this is how I go about life. But not everybody does it this way. And so if someone close to me who I care about is faced with problems and I don't see them doing what I do, actively looking and searching and trying to find a path and giving it a chance, and it didn't work out, well, we try something else, or stick with it, be consistent, see what happens, analyze the situation and circumstances. What can you sacrifice? What can you do? If they're just like living with their problem and it doesn't bother them enough for them to do something about it, it is going to eventually bother me to the point where it makes me sick. Like I start getting sick. I literally lose sleep. I literally start to stress eat. I keep thinking and brainstorming ideas and offering the solutions. And then when I don't see a change and I just see them spiraling or falling more downward into that problem, into a hole of sorts, I just start getting to the point where I'm at my wit's end, and now I can't have a respectful communication or interaction, relationship dynamic with this person because it's like, it's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do. You need to do these things. I wish I could learn how to disconnect from that feeling, that overwhelming, burdensome feeling of having some sort of responsibility for helping that person's situation. Disconnect that from the relationship. Just still feel love and care and be like, well, I hope you find a solution for your problems. These are called boundaries. They're healthy boundaries. But I haven't learned how to do it without sacrificing the communication and the closeness in the relationship. I actually have to distance myself. And when I do, when I create distance from the problem, knowing that it's not my problem, because I don't do that with my own problem. If I create distance from myself and my problem, that's basically me running away from my problems. They're gonna chase me, they're gonna find me anyway, and they're gonna eat me alive. So I face them head on. I try to nip it in the bud because I do not want it to snowball, escalate, and get out of control and become a mountain out of a molehill. But when it's someone else's and I distance myself and I'm able to be like, okay, this is not my issue anymore. I don't have to deal with this. It's almost like an immediate sense of relief. Immediate. It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And I notice myself feeling more calm. My mind is more clear, less cluttered and stressed. I am eating more normally and healthfully. I'm not stuffing my face, stress eating. I feel more rested. I'm able to sleep better. And I actually start losing weight. I gain weight when I feel a lot of stress. I lose weight when I'm either calm, but I lose weight meaning like I'm losing the unhealthy weight that I gained from the stress. I don't get excessively thin. I get excessively thin when I'm going through severe emotional turmoil and anxiety about something in my life that I don't know how it's gonna go. But if I have a lot of stress, meaning I have a lot of problems in my life that I have to figure out how to fix, then I tend to gain. But if I have, a situation or circumstance that it's not really a problem, it's maybe a desire or something that I hope turns out in a certain way, or like just a big thing, a big deal in my life that I don't have any control over it working out or not, I can become incredibly anxious and just completely turned off to the idea of even eating. I don't have any interest in food. So for me, life problems and life issues, just like everyone else, takes a toll on me, but not just my own, those of the people closest to me, but to the extent in which it becomes my own. And I think this is what you can call codependency. A lot of people don't understand the term codependency. They think it means to be dependent on someone else, dependent on them emotionally, or, dependent on them in whatever way. But that's not what it means. Codependency is when you tend to take on the other person's problems, life responsibilities, everything I just stated, as your own. And you see that this person needs to make changes and fix certain things, whether they're an alcoholic, a drug addict, a gambler, whatever it is that they seem to be not doing right. Now you feel like you need to fix it and you make it your own responsibility. And the only way to fix it is by trying to control that person. That's codependency. I am not in the business, nor am I interested in trying to control another person. It happened a lot in my long-term relationship in which I had children because I wanted to salvage the relationship, to salvage the family. But you cannot force anyone to do anything. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. You can't force them to go to therapy. You can't force them to read a book. You can't force them to learn something. You can try to guide them, you can try to give advice, you can try to convince them, but then that would become selling. And that, again, is not a strong suit of mine because I don't have the patience to sit here and talk to you about something until I'm blue in the face to convince you to do it. I get frustrated because if you can't see the value in what I'm presenting all on your own, then you're on your own. Call it whatever it may be, natural selection, whatever. If you're not meant to reach a certain level in your life, think of it like, gaming, you reach certain levels. Once you reach a certain level, now you have to acquire new skills to beat that level and so on and so forth. If you're meant to be at this level and that's as far as you go, that's your life's path, and I'm not meant to interfere with it. Salespeople are good at talking to people, convincing them, getting them to see things their way, and they get a sense of dopamine rush when they got that sale. I don't get that. I get that when I reach my goals, when I achieve my leveling up. But when it comes to other people, I grow so frustrated because I don't have the patience, and I think it comes from a lack of some form of social skills that I was supposed to obtain in my childhood growing up. I feel like in my childhood I was very isolated emotionally. It's not like today where we talk to our kids very much about a lot of things. I talk to my kids about a lot of things since they were born. I don't recall my parents talking a whole lot to me. My parents my dad made sure that there was money. My mom made sure that there was food. We had clothing. We were bathed. Like, all of our physical needs were taken care of. But emotional conversations about life, the hardships that we're going to face, the ways in which we can handle it. There were a few topics and subjects, but a lot of deep, profound, existential, human experiences and struggles. I don't feel like I was talked to a lot about it. I wasn't socialized well. I wasn't prepared. My extreme shyness didn't help because I couldn't really socialize that much even with my peers in school. I think that while other kids were learning certain skills when it comes to interacting with other people, I never did. And in my adult life, I've learned to put on the mask and socialize and be what I need to be for any given role, whether it be a student, an employee, a coworker, a boss, a girlfriend, a wife, a mother. If I'm ever most fully myself to anyone other than to myself, it is to my children. So as a mother, I am fully myself. I know that there has to be certain filters when you're talking to your children, and you have to be somewhat age appropriate. You can't just dump all your crap onto your kids. They're looking up to you, for a sense of safety and a sense of you being in control. So if you exhibit too much vulnerability or you volunteer too much information about whatever's going on in your mind, now it's like you're emotionally dumping onto your kids, and then that makes them feel like they have a sense of responsibility over you, and then that becomes problematic. You don't want your kids to feel like they're raising you. So you gotta kind of deal with your own things. But I've only ever really been able to truly be myself with myself. Now, granted, there have been friends, relationships, but very few. Like, I can count on one hand the number of people in which I can really kind of reach like 90% myselfness with. But 100%, probably not. I need that alone time. This is why I need to sometimes be in solitude. I need to be able to be myself. And I think this is why I find myself not wanting a relationship, because I don't want the added stress and burden of other people's issues, at least not currently, because I have too much going on my own. And on top of that, I'm enjoying very much being able to be myself and just focus on my goals and my situation. Sorry, my cat always needs attention when I'm making a video. Always needs attention when I'm making a video. Another thing I wanted to talk about briefly before I let you go is I'm noticing a little bit of a shift in the dating world and a shift in men. And you hear a lot about, there's typically like two types of guys, right? Like there's like the alpha male red pill bros that want women to be soft and feminine, and they tend to go for younger women because younger women are less experienced, because they want someone that they can easily control. They just want someone that if I say do this, you're just gonna do it, and you're not gonna question me, and you're not gonna ask any questions. You're just gonna do it. That's all fine and good for them because that's what they want. And it only works with younger women because a lot of times these younger women haven't had the life experiences yet. They haven't had to go through the problem solving and the skill learning to be able to handle their life and their finances and their careers, and they're buying a house and they're buying a car and they're planning a trip and all these decisions that typically the man does, right? And the woman doesn't know anything. So he controls everything, and he just tells her, hey, call these people and tell them to do this. And then she has to be like, okay. These women also expect to be taken care of. And The men are either like, okay, I'll do it. I will financially support her, take care of her, give her whatever she needs. They're now relinquishing all control, the women, and the men are 100% in control. So remember, the hand that feeds you can always also be the hand that starves you. So as women get older, if they haven't had this kind of relationship in their youth, and they've had to figure things out on their own, they now know things, and they're capable of making their own decisions to create the life that they want and to have a life that they find to be successful and fulfilling and satisfying. They can plan vacations, they can look for jobs, they can create their own resumes, they can, buy houses, open up bank accounts, start investing. They can do a variety of things on their own. So this kind of woman becomes very difficult to control because she has been able to handle all her things on her own without other people having to tell her how to do it or what to do. And it's worked out well for her. If the woman is a disaster and she's been trying to make these things work and they haven't worked out well for her, she may be very receptive and open to hearing someone else and doing what he says in hopes that it will work. But if it works for her and someone comes in and tries to tell her what to do, it gets a little hard because it's not that they have an ego trip and they're masculine and they don't want to be told what to do. If a man offers me a piece of advice that makes perfect sense to me and I haven't thought of it myself yet, I'm going to be like, wow, awesome. I am totally doing that. Like, my ego isn't big like that. But if I know better in this case scenario, why would I do what you're telling me? So I try to learn from the pros, and sometimes the pros are men and sometimes the pros are women, and it really doesn't matter to me. But now I'm noticing there's a lot of men that will say, dating's been hard because, I'm a self-made man and I've worked very hard and I'm financially secure and independent and all that. But there's a lot of women that are not well prepared. They don't own a home. They don't have their money together. They make money, but they blow all their money and spend it. They don't have any savings, no retirement, no investment. They just want us to take care of everything for them. And that scares men because it's a burden on them to be with a woman who can't handle her own stuff, who doesn't have her stuff together, who doesn't have her life together. Some men don't mind dating a woman who doesn't have it all together because they want her to be that level of vulnerable so that they can control her. But a man who has no interest in controlling a woman will not mind a woman who has it all together on her own. On the contrary, he probably wouldn't be interested or attracted to a woman who has not gotten her life together because he doesn't want that burden. Now, let's reverse the roles. Women most certainly do not want a male companion who doesn't have it together because then that puts the added burden on her. And while it might make a man feel like more of a man to be the provider and take care of her and be in control of her because he has naturally more assertive characteristics which tend to be more masculine and aggressive, women tend to be a little bit more passive and agreeable. And so we are more than likely not capable of putting up with or solving or carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders beyond the weight of our own lives. In other words, the most we can handle on our plate is what we have to deal with. And if you're a mother, your issues and that of your children, that's enough. It's too much. I can't solve the world's problems. So if a person isn't going to be able to handle their own issues on their own, that's not something that I can take on. And so I'm noticing that men, instead of wanting to date more frequently now, they're starting to see the value in older women, in women who are more prepared, women who have bought a house on their own, created a career for themselves, started investing for themselves, who have their stuff together. Because now this is like a peace of mind. It's a burden off of the man's mind that he doesn't have to worry about her. However, with that said, the 50-50 relationship notion shouldn't mean, oh, we go on a date, you're going to pay 50%. Because now that kills the romance. That kills the allure. That kills the sense of feeling courted. Because while I don't want or need or expect a man to pay my bills, I don't need to be dating someone who can pay my utility bill or pay my car bill or pay my mortgage. I can handle those things. But I don't want to date a man who will take me on a date and have me pay half. Or while we're dating, sometimes he pays and sometimes I pay. No, I don't want to pay because we're dating. And so men don't have to pay to dye or color their hair. Most men don't. They rock the salt and pepper silver fox look. Men don't have to pay for cosmetics. Men don't have to pay for lashes, nails. Men don't have to pay for purses, heels, different kinds of fashion such as pants, shorts, and shirts. Okay, that's what men also get, but women too. And on top of that, skirts, dresses, skirts, rompers, all kinds of different things, right? Men don't have to pay for period products. Men don't have to pay the pink tax, which essentially is the marking up of prices of the same thing that men use, but because it's made for women, it's more expensive. So shaving cream, deodorant, disposable razors, etc., etc. If it's made for a woman, it's more expensive. So a lot of times we buy the man version. So the fact that we pay for more, even our healthcare costs more. We have to go to annual gynecological visits. Like, we are more expensive to maintain, just our bodies, our appearances, and our minds. Because women, no offense ladies, women by nature are more neurotic. Women tend to seek out help more often than men, psychological help. So mental help, mental care, therapy, psychology, psychiatry. And so tack on top of all that, now we have to be independent too. We have to buy our own houses, we have to buy our own cars, we have to pay all our own bills. What does the man have to pay that's extra? I mean, men wear cologne, maybe they got a nice watch, nice pair of shoes or two, and some nice shirts. Most men these days don't even shave their face anymore. They're rocking the beard. So they don't have as much expenses as we do to maintain the allure to be desirable. So what makes a man desirable is him being the gentleman and paying for all dates. And if there's going to be like a couple's trip or a traveling sort of thing, he should pay for that too. Once you're living together, then you can come to the agreements of like, who's gonna pay what? Like, if one person makes more than the other, then maybe, you kind of split up who pays for what appropriately according to what one makes. So if you make about the same amount of money, you could just pay equally, all the expenses of the house. But if one person makes significantly more than the other, then that person can pay like the mortgage and the other person can pay like the utilities and the groceries, for example. So that's good 50-50 living if you're married and living together. But when you go on a date, even if you've been married for 20 years, if you make your woman pay, she's going to lose interest. She's going to stop feeling that sense of romance. It just is what it is. If you don't understand it, men, look at it this way. If your woman stops shaving her legs, stops coloring her hair and lets her gray hair grow out, stops dressing pretty and just wears t-shirts and sweatpants all the time, enough. If the woman stops taking care of her appearance, it's not going to be long before the man stops kind of like feeling impressed by her or feeling attraction for her. Not necessarily all the time, because I was in a long-term relationship where it didn't matter how bad I looked, he was still always very attracted to me. And in all of the relationships I've been in. But I've heard of cases where men have said they lost interest in their woman because she gained a lot of weight, or because she just doesn't dress up as cute anymore, she doesn't take care of herself. Like, men like it when we take care of ourselves. So we like it when you guys are chivalrous. That's that. I'm going to wrap up this video. We are at 26 minutes and 32 seconds and counting. Please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.